Welcome everybody, or welcome one person right now at the moment. What's up, Gina Marie? There we go. We have some people going. Trace, Cosmic Tears. Welcome to everybody on YouTube and X and Twitch and TikTok. Gonna wait a few more minutes for people to come on. Lisa, what's up? Whoa. Nancy Bear. What's up, everybody? This is Simulation Talk 69. We are in our 69th day of the daily life. To everybody who are not familiar, this channel mostly revolves around the simulation hypothesis. My name is Danny, and I'm claiming to have found actual proof that we live in a simulation. And we meet here on the daily to discuss the discovery, the experiment, as well as science, religion, spirituality, philosophy, God, and whatever else. And recently I've been kind of forced to do the lives a little later in the day, which is fine. But it's definitely taking some acclimation as far as energy levels and all of that. But it's a good practice. Lisa A joined. Ula, Jackie, Debaser, Tweety T, Sparky. Welcome, everybody. Living in my childhood house brings me trauma. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I would hope that it would do the opposite. Are you trying to do the best out of it? Welcome. Candy King. We have some flow in. So Jennifer and Tom and Tina. Do I have a regular job? I'm an editor and a producer. So I guess that is my day job. Your pastor has a portrait of me? That's crazy. Whoa. I'm trying to say hello to people and it's liking the chat. I guess not a bad thing. Yeah, actually, I guess because of what you can say because of my day job is why I'm forced to do these lives a little later in the day at the moment. To all the newcomers, this chat mostly revolves around the simulation hypothesis. My name is Danny, and I'm claiming to have found actual proof we live in a simulation. We're meeting here on the daily to discuss the experiment, the discovery, the implications, as well as science, religion, spirituality, philosophy, God, whatever comes to mind. If you want to watch my more extensive videos on these topics, you can go check out my YouTube channel, which is Dango Thoughts, or just follow my link tree in the description. 3 words, DANGO Thoughts. There I have some interviews with interesting people, and I have some interesting people coming up. And also all the topics that you see on TikTok, which the longest videos are maybe like 8 minutes. The longest one on YouTube are the same, the longer versions are about 30 minutes. So my eyes are beautiful. Thank you so much, Jennifer. And I love you too, Jennifer. Do I use Axe body spray? No. But I've seen the commercial. It looks like it really works, right? I always felt like we are trapped here on Earth. I hear this sometimes. Why? I don't know what makes people feel we're trapped. Trapped is a state of, I think, being. Because you can't be trapped if you're free in your mind, right? Like if you put a monk in prison, or even in isolation, the monk doesn't feel trapped. So I feel like trapped is not a physical state, it's a mental state. This is why I'm never really sure what people mean by that, because it's almost like saying, Earth is a pretty big place, right? And there's a lot of wonderful things here. So trapped feels like the wrong word. It's almost like saying we're trapped in space-time. I mean, that's where we live. Do you not agree with that? Aaron, how are you, brother? Always great to see you here. Maybe you trapped in my mind. Yeah, I think it's much more likely, but not just you. I mean, we all have a version of that, and I think the only noble and the only really achievable goal is to basically relinquish control and understand that the real trap can only be in the mind. You can be in complete bliss, in complete isolation. Stuck. Stuck also feels like the wrong word, Sean. Stuck, once again, means you can't go even though you want to. But we are making progress. We're definitely getting to a place where we can actually see a potential future on other planets and the stars. So stuck, I wouldn't necessarily call it stuck either. I feel like this is also a state of mind. Because I don't choose my neighbors, I don't choose family. I see what you're saying. Yeah, I can sympathize. When I was a little kid, I also had a pretty rough childhood, and it was pretty crazy. And I think, honestly, I don't really know what allowed me to kind of break free. But I know for a fact it had something to do with my state of mind, for sure. I mean, aside from psychedelics, I also eventually found meditation later in life, and that definitely makes a big difference, I would say. But yeah, you don't choose the circumstances, you don't choose your family, you don't choose the neighbors. All you choose is how you relate to all of that. And I'm not saying it's that easy to just look at it a different way, but it's definitely possible. Is the South Pole positive or negative? I think it should be negative, right? Like some things are predetermined. Yeah, I feel like the only coherent way of looking at it is if, everything is unfolding and the only choice we make is how to look at everything. Have you watched the movie Into the Wild? Oh yeah, it's a good one. It's a true story. It's kind of crazy. Well, the movie is not really about living in Alaska. The movie is about, that was his final goal. The movie was more about getting back into nature and kind of going away from the modern perception of the world. It's beautiful and sad at the same time. I feel like that dude most of the time. Really? Interesting. I forgot the quote he said at the end of the film. The quote, you mean it from the movie? I mean, at the end, you just see him take his last breath. Sorry, spoiler alert. But there was a quote. There was a lot of quotes from the movie that were great. Dan, you said you were going to get some milk. It's been 20 years. I mean, if you're not joking, I sympathize, but that was funny. Yeah, it was a sad moment. But it's a great film. I highly recommend it. You left religion. Shaky James. Well, I'm glad you kicked it off. Or kicked it. How do you say? Society religion. The first top 3 movies for me. Well, The Matrix for sure, and not even related to the discovery that I made. Just the movie is incredible. I gotta think about it because I know there's gonna be a lot that kind of come to mind. I guess it goes kind of across genres. I don't know. Ex Machina is up there. I don't know if the absolute 3 favorites, but definitely up there. You never understood The Matrix? Oh, when he wanted to get back. Yeah, I don't remember that. When he decided, yeah, when it wasn't his choice anymore. That's actually a very powerful moment. Jesus in the flesh. The movie was complicated? The Matrix, you mean? What was confusing about it? Tell me. The Matrix being made back then is crazy too, since the hidden meaning behind it. Yeah, there's a lot of layers to this film, that's for sure. And look at that. I discovered we actually do live in the Matrix. Only it's a little different in reality. It's actually upside down. The computational world is apparently the real world, and our world, what we call the real world, is actually just a tiny sliver, a tiny slice of reality of the larger computational space. Wait, you didn't finish the Matrix because you was getting too confused. God bless you and everyone here. God loves you. Seeking the Lord, you matter. Thank you, man. We love you too. What do you remember? What part of the Matrix you stopped watching? Do you have any idea? If we live in the Matrix, do you think there's like creators that also live with us? Yes, but yes, they're among us all the time. How limited we are of perception, but we are comped as well. Comped? What does that mean? Sorry. You were not too far into the movie? Interesting. I also have not finished The Matrix, and I regret it every single day. I know it's a great movie. I mean, you can always watch it, right? What's up, Divergent Normie? Good to see you. Yeah, you should definitely finish watching it. There's a lot of reality and symbolism in it at the same time. Today we're kind of, there was not really any big point of discussion yet. Take everything with a grain of salt. That's for sure. Thanks, baby. That is my fiance, yeah. I live with people. I mean, it's debatable. But thoughts on crystals? What does she think about the Matrix? Well, it's not so much a matter of think. It's a matter of... So, if you're not familiar with the channel, the reason that I'm doing these live chats and the reason that I kind of became more active on social media is because a few years ago I discovered that if you project a diffracted laser on the surface and you inject a particular molecule that I can't really name here on the live chat, and you have a hair that stands out like an antenna, maybe that's optional, then you will see code running in surfaces. And this observation has now been replicated over 1,000 times worldwide. So it's not so much a question of when you think, it's kind of like knowing, and then what you do with it is a different story, of course. Yeah, I mean, she did. When you see the code, you don't really have a choice but to agree. It's not a measure. At that point, it's not a matter of opinion. What you do with it now is the question. What's up, Marie Celeste? Scott. I mean, I think to some degree these ideas freak a lot of people out, but I think ultimately it's just kind of like being freaked out by the idea that we live in the universe. It's big, but it's what it is. I think, again, it all comes back to how you feel moment to moment. If you can just be happy moment to moment, then it doesn't really matter what the larger state of affairs are in the universe or at large. The fact that we are alive sometimes scares me. Interesting. How come? Life itself scares you? Because of the amount of suffering available, you mean? There's a lot of beautiful things as well. I know a few astronomers who are working on the boundaries of the universe. What does that mean, Donnie Darko? I can understand that, eh? Astronomers who are working on the boundaries of the universe? What does that mean? But isn't it also the exciting part about life, that it's unpredictable? Background noise is life. Things are happening. Sometimes it's okay. Means the universe has an endpoint. Yeah, there's no one that can tell you that with any amount of certainty. You can talk about the you can talk about the horizon of the universe, from which light can no longer reach us and never will. But to say that you know with any amount of certainty that there's nothing beyond that point, that's just not true. And no astronomer worth their salt will ever tell you that. I think that fear is what shows we are alive, able to feel experience, all in movement, all in the moment. Why fear specifically? Why not any emotion or experience at all? I mean, the fact that you're experiencing something is you know you're alive. It doesn't really matter what you're experiencing. Lots of possibilities and mistakes that can lead to different paths. Yeah, observable universe, that's different. The universe, I believe, is ever expanding. Well, what do we have here? Hey, bro. And you start with well. Nice. Scary part is that I'm the one in control of my life. Actually, the scariest part is that you're not. What do you guys plan on being for Halloween? That's a great question. I don't know. Actually, they can. You should look it up. Well, actually, I was on my way to become an astrophysicist, so I know a thing or two about these things. And I can tell you with 100% certainty that no astronomer that actually is a real astronomer would tell you that they know that there's an edge to the universe. Or they should return all their credentials as an astronomer. Immediately. This is a very incoherent thought. Yeah, the egg theory is great. It's by Andy Weir, the original story, and I know there's a great rendition by Kurzgesagt, which is a weird naming channel on YouTube, which means in a nutshell in German. What's up? What's up, not of this world? Good to see you. What's my marriage? Oh, you mean when's my wedding? Probably next year. Thank you for asking. I don't need to prove you wrong. I know you're wrong. Also, in general, you're making a positive proposition. You're the one that's supposed to bring the evidence, not the other way around. There's infinite things that you can say that are possible. It's when you're making a positive statement about the world is when the onus of the responsibility of proof is on you, not on me. Everyone share your wisdom and knowledge, even if it's different from someone else's, or you're just trying to add onto theirs or take away. That's wise. Yeah. So to all the newcomers, again, this is not my regular hour, but what is this? Is that a little bug? Oh, this is crazy. This is part of your thing. That is really this is cool. I'm gonna take a picture of this. This is awesome. It looks like a little bug. It's awesome. So this channel mostly revolves around the simulation hypothesis. My name is Danny, and I'm actually claiming that I found actual proof we live in a simulation. There we go. We meet here every single day to discuss science, religion, spirituality, philosophy, God, and whatever else, including what I discovered. And if people have questions, I'm always here to answer. Thoughts on the idea that you are the only one in a simulation as opposed to a shared experience? Yeah, I mean, I guess that would be solipsism. It's not completely far-fetched. I think that ultimately idealism makes a lot of sense, which is a little different than solipsism in that it's not that just your perception exists, but that perception itself is the only thing that exists. So the mind at large is the only thing that actually exists, which is the universe itself. And then we are all dissociative boundaries of that larger mind. So we're almost like bubbles within the larger bubble. And this would explain how consciousness is, because it's just a fundamental thing. And in fact, there are some models today, like Donald Hoffman's model, that make sense of that in technical means. So they use mathematics to show that you can actually derive space-time from the presupposition that the mind is fundamental, and you can describe it in mathematical frames. And through evolutionary game theory, you can show how agents can arise, how they would interact, what these functions would look like, very concretely, geometrically. And in fact, they're solving a lot of problems now in physics that previously were very difficult to solve. So it seems like it's getting traction. So this idea is not only coherent, but now starting getting backed up by at least some solid philosophical assumptions, and now some mathematics that can actually potentially allow us to do things that previously we couldn't. So is it possible that you are the only agent? Well, from my perspective, if that is the case, then the only possibility is that I'm the only agent, because I know I'm conscious. But I think it's much more like we are these disassociative boundaries of the larger mind. And that would make sense also from the perspective of what a lot of spiritual people say, which is that we are one. We are part of this universal awareness. Now, the specifics of it, I think nobody really knows, and any claim in that direction, I think, is either confused or designed to confuse others. And I think that ultimately, whatever... What's up, President Zaddy? And that's amazing. And I think that ultimately the important thing is, again, maybe kind of boring, but it's how you live your life. It's in your immediate environment and conditions, how do you play your cards in a way that you enjoy yourself more and others enjoy around you? I think that ultimately that is, the only value that can ever be real, which is how pleasant the experience in the universe is. And you can fold technology into it. You can say, look, we have to develop technology to be more comfortable. That's fine. But then if you're developing technology just so you can be a dick, then I think you're missing the point. So ultimately, I think that the merger between what technology can do and what experience can bring about is the ultimate goal of what any conscious agent in the universe should aim for. Focus, I go with the flow. Wonderful. Who is in control of your life? Well, it's actually a deep question. Nobody is. There's I meditate, and when I've done one of my retreats, we were visiting this older couple who were part of the larger community of the Vipassana community after the retreat, and in their house they have a painting, and it's a monk sitting in front of a lake, and it says, "Don't worry, nothing is under control." And I think it's about the truth about what's going on, which is very different than, let's say, the religious perspective that God controls everything. Self-control is something. But yeah, and actually about that question, I do feel that there's a room for like a middle ground there. By the way, I will address your comments in a moment. That's amazing. I think there's a middle ground for something like, if the simulators are running simulation that they want to get something out of, but they want to keep it safe, it's possible that you would exert more computational processing power just to allow for each individual conscious unit to have their own simulation, but all the other agents in their simulation, which are reflections of like behaviors in them as well, they actually have representations, like in other simulations. They are real, but they're not real in your simulation. So all of you are real agents, but in my reality, you're just part of the rendering. However, the larger simulation, the one that is overarching everything, is taking notes of how you guys are really in your reality, and then it sends this information to my universe, to my simulation, and informs the neural nets as to how you guys would behave in accordance to if a person like me would be in your perception, and then it kind of balances the scales. What this achieves is a completely safe system. So if anybody starts hurting anybody else, no matter to what degree, nobody gets hurt. So it would be true, and this kind of brings you back to the egg, right? It kind of makes sense of the thing where if you're hurting somebody, all you're doing is hurting yourself, because you are literally like kind of like hurting your own environment that is expressed through the thing that makes sense to you. Wait, let me go back. Hello. Oh, there's a lot of comments. 1 second. What's up, Terry? I don't know what you want me to repeat. There's a lot that has been said, but we're moving forward, and you can always ask specific questions, and then we can refer to those. I see there's a lot of comments. So let me go through them. What if you actually do choose and make your decisions? You can't describe a world in which the thing you feel yourself to be is making the choices, because what making a choice means is being able to do something versus something else. So if you believe yourself to be this agent that is appropriating the decision, so to speak, in other words, if you have to decide between two courses of action, then if you look very closely at what's going on, what you're really postulating is that somehow you're outside of existence itself, sitting there waiting and going, I want A, no, I want B. And then you go B, and then B happens. So then you have to explain, where is this place that you're sitting? Is it outside of reality? Where is this place that is completely untethered by everything else that's going on, from which you're making this quote unquote decision? Also, who is the I that is making the decision, right? So you have infinite regress. Doesn't make a lot of sense. In addition to that, if you meditate enough, and it sounds like you're saying you do, then very quickly you start realizing that actually this thing you feel yourself to be in the center is not actually there. There's just all these inwards pointing vectors that are attached to propositions that have to do with perception, and then there are perceptions that point inwards, and we call them the perceptions of the self. So we say, I like this food, this is my car, this is my dog. These my's in the propositions, they're kind of like inward pointing arrows that imply that something is in the middle. But when you look closely enough, when you meditate or you do that long enough, you can conclusively look for this thing that you think is in the middle and realize it's not there. Like, it's truly not there. There is no you seeing something. They're just seeing. They're just seeing. The seeing, whatever it is happening in existence. And attached to that seeing, there's a little invisible imaginary pointing arrow inwards, implying if they're seeing, there's something that is seeing. But it's possible to notice that actually there's just seeing. There is nothing that is seeing. In some sects of Buddhism, there's a phrase that they keep repeating, like in Dzogchen they do that, if I'm not mistaken. It's a phrase that you keep repeating, or somebody repeats it for you, and you just have to truly absorb and try and experience it. And the phrase is, there's no one here that all of this is happening to. There's no one here that all of this is happening to. and this proposition is not philosophical or designed to induce some kind of a, mystic state. It's true. It's just the truth. And then when it fully dawns on you as an experience is when something happens that frees you, because you no longer boxed in this idea that there's something in the middle that needs to be protected. There's just what's happening. So there's never problems. It's just whatever happens next. Let's see if we have some comments on YouTube. That's Amazing says, so you said you can see code in the fabric of reality with lasers. What type of simulation do you think we are in? So it is true. What I discovered a few years ago is that if you project a diffracted laser on the surface and you ingest a particular molecule that I cannot name here on the live chat because of legal reasons, you will see code running in surfaces. And this is, anybody can try this. This is replicable 100% of the time. We have over 1,000 replications worldwide. And in fact, I am in contact with some of the leading researchers in the field. It's very important to note that it does not mean that all of them agree with me, but this is an ongoing conversation, and something very big is unfolding. The second part of your question, I'm not really sure what you mean by what type of simulation. If you can clarify, I can answer. I've always thought that we were inside the imagination of God, like a dream, a holographic simulation made of mental energy. It makes sense, only what I'm saying very concretely now in the molecule space, that there's straight up an advanced civilization that is tending to our slice of reality. Do you think we exist in multidimensional universe simulation where every single possibility is playing out and has played out? Not the multiverse. Yes, I think that is absolutely the case. How does the Mandela effect tie into that simulation? Not sure, but it's possible that timelines diverge, and then at some point they converge for a little while. So the people from the different timelines remember different things, and then it diverges again. Now, it's also possible that none of this is actually happening, as far as like even, any crazy theory, just because we live in a simulation, does not mean that anything crazy goes, right? A lot of extra crazy things are now makes more sense if they happen, because now you have a pretty straightforward explanation as to how these things occur, because you have a substrate, which is the software that is registering everything. So now you can make sense of the law of attraction, you can make sense of ghosts, you can make sense of a lot of very, things that are out there. But it doesn't mean that all of them necessarily are realized or instantiated in the informational pattern that is our slice of the simulation. As far as the Mandela effect, it's also possible that it's just people misremembering. There's some kind of a psychological effect there. But I do think it's possible that it's timelines that diverge and converge. We are just illusions with autobiographical memory structures. So I would actually say, so it depends what you mean by we. If you're talking about the thing I was just talking about, which is the central unit, then yes, you're right. This isn't the definition of an illusion, because it's implied, but it's not really there. Just like a circle is implied by four other shapes having the lack of the part of the circle that gives rise to the perception that there is a circle, but there isn't, which is exactly the same thing like the self. But if you're talking about that, and I'm not saying you're saying that, but I'm just clarifying because people do tend to say this sometimes. If somebody says consciousness is an illusion, that's an incoherent statement. It's incoherent because it's the one thing that cannot possibly be an illusion. This is something that I've heard Sam Harris say very often, but it's absolutely true, which is that there's nothing that you can be absolutely certain of more than the fact that consciousness is real. Because what consciousness means is that there's something going on. There's some possibility of an experience. That's all that consciousness means. Consciousness does not mean that you have to have an agent having the conscious experience. It doesn't mean that it has to specifically be brought about in a particular way. So none of that arises from the proposition that consciousness is there. Even if consciousness arises by some kind of a trick of some kind of a computer, the fact that consciousness is real is the only thing you can know for sure. It's more sure than even the existence of the universe. So that's an incoherent thought. But I'm not saying you were saying that, but people do say that sometimes. And that's just, if anything is wrong as a statement, that statement is just wrong. It's just not true. It's not a matter of opinion. It's not Like you can't, because it's a matter of definition. The definition of consciousness is that something's going on. So the second you say something like, I think consciousness is an illusion, the I, the think, and everything else in your sentence shows that you don't understand what you're saying and that you're wrong. Because in order to say that, you have to be conscious. So it's one of these self-defeating definitions. If we're in a simulation, then we're also somewhere outside of the simulation. Not necessarily, but that's a really good point. You have two types of potential simulations. One in which you have some external representation, a physical body that is going into a software and having an experience. The other possibility is that you're just a pure informational pattern, which, to be honest with you, I think it's a much more plausible scenario, because it sounds like if you can do that, why would you bother to also create another coupling? Somehow, like another unit. You can, maybe it's a matter of kind of like having roots, like you're rooted in some kind of a higher space. Possible, but these are two possibilities. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're either one or the other. I think consciousness is real, as they say. It's fundamental. Yeah, but again, I don't think it's a matter of think. I don't think you can possibly describe logically a coherent. It's impossible to describe a coherent picture of the world in which consciousness is not real, because all you need to know that consciousness is real is to have it, and you do. End of story. That's where you started and end on that point. And also, I would claim that you cannot describe coherently a world in which you're making choices, because every single state that the universe gave, that happened in the universe, was a product of all the previous states that are all linked in some causal process. And even if you want to postulate that the real world, whatever you want to call the real world, is appropriated from, I don't know, 1,000-dimensional space with the Godhead that is spinning 1 trillion times a picosecond, and there's cats flying around, whatever you want to say. And no matter how crazy it is, that's the truth. That's the state of affairs. That is what it is. And that is, in fact, what the state of affairs are. So it gives rise to everything else that happens in the middle, and it gives rise to then this moment in which you've experienced that you actually chose to do this or that. But the moment of choice itself, the moment that is quote unquote deciding to go left or right, is not in the being that is experiencing it. It's not even in the universe that is appropriating it. It's somehow the hole in the donut that goes all the way outside of reality itself. It's outside of even the ability of reality to inspect. I think Elon Musk said he wants to see what's on the other side of the simulation. He's probably researching the simulation. He's definitely not researching the simulation, because Elon is a person of more kind of like, like what can we do right now that we understand? But I'm certain that if the right tools are available, he will definitely be interested in investigating it, yes. What if you actually choose to make your decisions? That's what I described. You have infinite regress there. What if you do actually create your reality? I know it's a very common meme now that you create your own reality. To an extent, that is true, but it's very easy to check how it's not true 100% of the time, or it's not ultimately true. It's like you can say you're co-creating the reality with the rest of whatever's going on. And the way you can check is just try and walk through a wall. See what happens. If you can't walk through the wall and you really want to, then you don't create your own reality. There are certain regularities that you're still bound by, which, by the way, thank God for that. What if it's already written and passed? We're just doing through it with this avatar. Sure, but then the experience, it's just like saying that this is not real. It's the same thing. As long as you have a conscious agent going through the motion and is not aware of the totality of the picture, for that conscious agent, that is a novel thing. That is reality. So it makes no difference if it's written in advance. This is why I find statements of the flavor of it's all one, or it's all just one unit of energy, or we're all part of Godhead, and then full stop. I find these statements very vacuous. They're not really informing anything. They're not saying anything. I think they're only designed to make people feel good inside, which is fine, but Let's just be honest about what they are. They're not statements about reality, they're statements about how you want to feel. You must be a low level astronomer. Wow, I may need to look into astronomy. Donnie Darko, you still haven't said anything. You just keep telling me what I am. How fast does the Earth rotate? Don't remember. I've never tapped in with that, and now it's something I need to add to my list too. Thank you. Surrendering control is pretty hard. Yeah, it's the hardest. You should help your partner clean so you can spend more time together. I appreciate you, but yeah, we have certain commitments. This is one of mine that I have to show up for this every day, and we definitely make it the time. Sure. Elon Musk would like to talk to you about the simulation. One day. When you raise your vibration, you come in contact with a higher dimension beings that share wisdom. Sure. My friend is an astrophysicist who uses all his book learning for social media and playwriting. Cool. Gods are everywhere as well as beings. He's on TikTok. I should send him your way. He'd be intrigued. Absolutely, bring him on. I love to talk to physicists. The observable universe is a ball-shaped region of the universe. Yes, that's what we said. The observable universe, not the universe. You said that they can tell you that there's an edge to the universe. You wrote it yourself, the observable universe. Only what we can observe. He'd be a guest for physics talking points. Cool. I missed the first part. Can you repeat that? Love my little guys, my big guys, friends. What advice would you give someone starting over in life in all aspects? That's a great question, Mr. Random. In fact, I did that a few years ago. I basically threw away everything I owned, like literally in 2 days. I don't know what happened. We're shooting a documentary about the discovery that I made, and part of it we're mentioning a little bit that part. We're not really focusing on it because I don't know if that's that important, but I guess it's a somewhat peculiar part of my story, so I can tell you a thing or two about that. I think it's very liberating. Just remembering that, as some people say, the chute won't always open the first time. Sometimes, even though you kind of fully committed, you might eat shit a couple of times, and that's okay. It's part of the process. But if you're willing and you're truly committed, then the day-to-day and if you already took the actual step to really change everything, then you should change it to an nth degree. You should change it totally. Don't change it a little bit. It's a radical step, so it's not for everybody. But if you did do that, or you choose to truly commit to that, don't half-ass it. Do it all the way. Only commit to the things that make you feel absolutely elated and happy. Whatever it is, even if you suck at it, even if you want to be writing books or be a public speaker, whatever it is, just stay with it and truly, truly commit to it. The full commitment, I think, is the thing, and enjoying every single moment of the day. I mean, we live in an incredible time. Have I considered a TED Talk? Sure. The question is, does TED Talk consider me? We'll get there. I love having fun with them, just not too much fun. I've had bad experiences, so you must... Yeah, you gotta be careful. Are we in a big light bulb? Maybe. The world is alive, I agree. If gravity was off ever so slightly, the solar system would spin out of control. Yeah, I think... so it is true that there's these cosmological constants, so to speak, that seem to just kind of like come out of nowhere. And one of the biggest mysteries in physics is that the fine-tuning problem, which is that these constants that we don't really know where they came from, they're so finely tuned that if you change one of them by tiny bit, the whole thing falls apart. Now, obviously, because of what I've discovered, to me it's pretty clear that somebody set these dials there. But let's say I wouldn't discover that. I think that even there, it always seemed to me like it's just a matter of degree, right? Because we think of this little tweaking as meaning the whole thing is going to fall apart, but we're only looking at it through the logic of the rules that already came about through the regularities of these tweaks. So it would stand to reason that it would be possible to imagine a world in which one of them is a little different or all of them are a little different, but different regularities would arise. And physicists, by the way, would insist. They would say, no, you don't understand. No, the whole thing would not work. And I have to keep repeating it. It's like, no. What you consider to be possible is because of what you've learned about the world the way it is. If the world would be different, whatever regularities would arise can still logically give rise to some other patterns that would interact with each other in such a way that will give a different structure. And then, because, for example, scientists are very committed to the idea that life has to include water and some other elements, carbon, for example. And they're very adamant about it. And I always think, like, I understand that it, like, statistically would make sense because of the way the universe already is. But if the universe would be in any other way, which there's probably infinite number of, I think it would still most of the time give rise to some coherent structures that allow for other things that make sense. Because literally we're talking about the fundamental rules. And I don't know why, but they always miss that point. I'm looking up the boundaries of the universe right now on Google. Good. If you're one of the dead people living, why are you still here? I don't think you have truly died. I don't understand what that means. And you are completely wrong. All right, Donnie Darko. Good talk. You make really good points. I actually have an interesting question. Go ahead. Question everything, see what you believe, don't believe what you hear, feel it. Well, yes and no. Sometimes the feeling will definitely lead you astray. Only you will know if you experience it and feel it. That's true. How is the universe 13.7 billion years old, but the oldest star is 14 billion years old? Well, no, this was, if I remember correctly, this last measurement was a mismeasurement. There was a miscalculation there. But also, again, there's a lot of things that the universe will definitely throw at us as surprises at some point. So it wouldn't be that surprising to me. I know you feel... Why the label agents? You believe people in chat are Matrix agents? Agents? What are you talking about? Is this how that... Yeah, okay. Oh, it just jumped. Let's see what we got on YouTube here. If we're in a simulation, then we're also somewhere... Oh, we already said that. I think it's a simulation. Do you believe in free will? I don't think it's a question of belief. I don't know how free will is a coherent thing to describe in a world that is based on cause and effect. Why don't you tell us about electromagnetic radiation being collected by telescopes? I don't know what is the meaning? What is the point of this? Let's see. Why does it keep jumping on me? There's a the chat is out of control. Do you think consciousness could be the code? Yeah, the code is definitely, well, it's just space-time, and it includes consciousness. It's space-time mind. Bro, you literally cheated. Let me see. There's no dog slurping water. That's funny. My philosophy is just don't be a preaching piece of shit that speaks positively and comes up with, yeah. Hey Donnie Darko. So listen here, bro. So on this chat, everybody are welcome, and anybody can say whatever they want to each other as long as it's respectful, and as long as you don't tread on anybody's ability to express themselves. So I'm telling you this one time: be respectful, or don't be here at all. Or I'm gonna make sure that you're not here. This chat, we respect each other. Not gonna say that again. What's up, mother of kittens? Yeah, must be something with the moon, huh? Yep. Respect is kind and kindness is free. Exactly. Terry is saying the matrix theory can be confused with cognitive perspective. What do you mean by that? You mean just with the fact that an observer confuses what brings he or she about? Is that what you mean? So I'm not talking about me, Donnie. You're not hurting my feelings. I know my worth. I'm saying be respectful to other people. Every single point that we make and we disagree about can always be made with respect and understanding. The second you start sliding into personal accusations about deciding for people what they are, you belong in a universe that is not my universe. It's very simple. So none of the stuff that you said, Donnie, actually is pointing to anything. You're talking about some general disjointed things. You contradicted yourself from the beginning of the conversation. You said that you know some astronomers. Here's what you said. You can go look up the chat. You said that you know some astronomers that that are working on the edges of the universe. And then he said, there's no such thing as the edge of the universe. You can talk about the edge of the observable universe. Fine. You said, no, there's an edge to the universe. Then you went, checked in Google, came back and typed it yourself. You said the observable universe. You typed the words, which is exactly what I said. So then you start talking about radiation, which is just one tiny sliver of the spectrum of light in general. And also, I think you're having the conversation on a very different frequency here, also from a psychological level. Like you're very abrasive and aggressive, and you're not listening. You're here to argue. We don't argue here. We just exchange ideas. And if you have something of value to bring forth, then say it. All you're saying is that who knows what and how, you know this, you know that. You're boring, bro. Just say something of value or don't be here. Simple. You think that what you look up on the internet in one search is the thing, is what's going on? Then you're more confused than you think, bro. Also, I'm pretty sure you're a bot because you have 0 followers and 0 following. So no, I'm saying that looking for one data point doesn't prove anything. You just need to talk about the full picture. What's the context? I'm not here to prove anything to anyone. I'm here to I found an experiment that you can do, and if you want to do it, you can see it for yourself. I'm not here to have I'm not here to defend it as a philosophical proposition. It's an experimental proposition. That's amazing. Saying, when you saw the code in the fabric of reality, did it look like numbers, letters, or shapes? Good question. It actually surprisingly looks a lot like in the movie. It looks like Japanese katakana combined with some Hebrew letters and some regular numbers from 0 to 5. Now, these are just approximations. It's not exactly what it looks like, but it's the closest thing it looks like, too. What's up, Amir? Just joined. What is the stream about? How are you? So this stream usually revolves around the simulation hypothesis. My name is Danny, and I'm claiming to have found actual proof that we live in a simulation. A few years ago, I discovered that if you projected a fractal laser on a surface and you ingest a particular molecule that I can't really name here, but it's called the spirit molecule, you will see code running in surfaces. This observation has now been replicated over 1,000 times, and I am in contact with some of the leading researchers in the field. That's the general gist of what we're talking about, but we meet here every single day and we discuss all kinds of things: religion, spirituality, philosophy, God, whatever comes to mind, really. So I hope this summarizes it. No, it's just Google the spirit molecule and you'll see what it is. KH, not sure if you heard what I just said, but that's my, that's what we're talking about. Could it be less digital? How to fix epilepsy? That would be great. No arguments, KH. We're just exchanging ideas. I just put forth what the experiment that I've. You can also watch my videos here on TikTok and also on YouTube. On YouTube, it's Dango Thoughts. The only reason to go to YouTube is because these videos are longer, so there's more information. DANGO Thoughts, or just follow the link tree, or you can watch the shorter videos here on TikTok and you'll understand what this channel is about, all the way at the top. Could what be less digital, Louis? I want to hear a molecule story of mine that led to a VR. Masks even low. Sure, maybe another day. Today I'm gonna adjourn soon, so not so much time for stories. So you don't know anything about electromagnetic radiation, but you're an astrophysicist. I don't know what you're getting from. Okay, bro. I think you're a troll. Yeah, you're missing everything here. I'm not here to dance to your tune, bro. I'm doing my chat. So if you want to say something about what you want to, since you came to the chat, you haven't said anything of value, not one thing. What is it about electromagnetic radiation that you want to talk about? And then we can talk about it. You're saying electromagnetic radiation. Okay, what about it? What do you think about Skull? The CPU tech is real. Not sure. Oh, because I'm still trying to decide if it is a troll or not. And I don't want to kick anybody just because they disagree. All right, man. Now you're out. Because you said nothing of value since the beginning. Thank you. Bye. I'm very slow to kick people out because sometimes it does happen that people come in and they're very charged. And sometimes it's because they're going through something. And it's actually nice for them to see that actually there's no imposition, and the idea is actually to just share ideas and to be open about all kinds of things. And sometimes they turn around and they become regulars, and sometimes they become really big fans of the chat. But I think in this case it was just straight up like from a farm, like they have troll farms just to entice a certain kind of emotion in the chats. I've learned recently this is real. And I'm pretty sure this was one because it literally has 0 followers and 0 following. So, oh yeah, he's out. But this is why I'm a little slower to just kick people out. When I was a kid, I figured out the meaning of life. Amazing. Are dreams a part of this simulation theory? Any informational content whatsoever. The proposition is not that we're living in a computer, but that reality itself is computational, and then what we call our reality is just a tiny sliver, a slice of that larger computational space. So all informational content, and obviously experiential content. Yeah, emotionally. No, I really think it was just a troll. If I'm able to vote, yeah, of course. Meaning of life is to live. Amen. Does knowing or being open about knowing about a simulation makes for trouble? Not as far as I know so far. I've been vocal about it for years. Because, yeah, the bot was derailing the conversation pretty constantly. Yeah. I remember all of my dreams every night. Is that weird? No, I've heard this. Most people remember their dreams. You have mods? No, I don't have moderators in the moment, but that's okay. Right now the chat is not that big. I can handle it. What's your idea on the mechanism of remote viewing? What I would assume that it has something to do with being able to allocate yourself in the higher space of the software tapestry and then just carry yourself through it, I would assume. Woo! What's up, Nathan? When you're seeing the code, does it look different on different surfaces? No. So far, all the surfaces are the same. The trouble is I always had with the theory is where does the code start and stop, if that makes sense. Yeah, it's the same problem with the universe, right? Where does it stop and start? That's not, the problem is the same. But I'm with you. I was never interested in the simulation hypothesis, ever. It was never interesting to me. I find it extremely crude as a theory. Because even though it makes sense, it's kind of boring, to be honest with you, because it's like it makes things arbitrary. It's like, okay, well, if it's simulated, then you're saying that from that point of where it's simulated, it's arbitrary. Anything goes. Anything goes because you're dealing with minds, and minds are infinitely creative, which means that if some other civilization of a flavor we don't understand made this simulation, they could have picked all the rules at random, like just completely arbitrary. So it makes physics completely empty. It's just not interesting. There's something very beautiful about finding the regularities in nature. To me, they all kind of sit together perfectly, like this beautifully, composed puzzle. And the second you start talking about simulation, it's just kind of like a 5-year-old. It just comes and just like just destroys your castle. It's like it's boring. But I discovered that you can actually find out a part of it. And that's different, because if you have an observation, nobody ever thought, and most people still don't think, that we would ever have any shred of evidence of this kind of thing. And apparently we can, and now we do. That's the only reason I followed it there, because it was just there. And I think one of the important things is that not to try and overlay what we think it is, but to allow it to be what it actually is. Which, by the way, is what I find problematic about this whole new, I would say, modern religion, but people call it spirituality, even though I would consider myself as a spiritual seeker. But there's the spiritual culture. And that, I feel, is a little bit more dogmatic and actually religious than these people would like to admit. Because they say things like, they bring us back to this very anthropocentric view, which basically the Catholic Church had for a long time, which is that, no, like, it sounds beautiful, right? But think about what it means. Like, we are the creators of our own reality. It's all my decision what happens. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's not narcissistic at all. All that matters is what I think or what I believe it is. It's like, really? Okay, well, I don't think so. So I think this insistence that things should be what you want or think they are, that's a confused point for me. You need to be able to be a clean slate to the extent that you can, to allow what the thing really is to express itself to you instead of insisting for it to be something. People don't realize that all these ideas that they think they're novel ideas, they're not. There's something you heard, and then you kind of overlaid your own thoughts on top of it, and then you feel like it's a new idea, but it's not. It just you heard it somewhere. You read it in a book, you saw it here, you saw it there. I followed this idea into the whole laser thing very uncomfortably. Like, I'm very uncomfortable with it. But if it's the truth, then there's nothing I can do about it. It's just what it is. You got it, remain. Let's see what we got on YouTube. I'm a nihilist. Well, nihilism is also a position of truth proposition, right? You assume that there is no meaning or teleology in the universe. I'm thinking C60. If it is a simulation, what do we do with that information? Great question. I don't know yet. I always equate it to a similar question when quantum physics was discovered. It was never clear to anybody that it will ever have anything to do with our day-to-day life. And then in less than a decade, it was personally responsible for basically recreating our world. The reason that you and I can talk through this device right now, the reason that you can actually build lasers, actually speaking of, and a lot of other types of technologies that we use every single day are only possible because we understand quantum physics to some degree. Yeah, but it sounded like it's just always going to be something out there, right? So what do we do with it? I'm not sure. At the moment, it doesn't change anything, I think. But if we can learn what to do, how and what to do with the code, eventually, who knows? We might be able to bend the laws of physics, go faster than light. Who knows? I don't know. Then where do we go for the installations of how to do the experiment? You go to codeofreality.com, codeofreality.com, and you have a full, wow, my brain. You have the full protocol there. You also have a page with all the stuff that you need to order from Amazon or Alibaba if you want to do it. Shouldn't be too expensive. It shouldn't cost you more than $50. People also asked us, so we make them, but it will be much cheaper for you to just get everything yourself because it's very time consuming, and we only do it because people insist. But we actually encourage you to just get the parts yourself and do it because it's not really financially viable for us to do it. We do it if we have to, but yeah, it's very simple to set up. The only thing I would say is that always make sure that you never get any laser that is above 5 milliwatts ever, because 5 milliwatts you can sit in front of it for hours. By the way, to make it clear, you're not looking at the laser. Some people sometimes ask me, I'm like, no. Point the laser at the wall, and you're looking at the wall. Never point the laser into your eyes. And but with 5 milliwatts, you can sit there and explore for a while. So whatever you do, never go above 5 milliwatts. Let me show you. This is one of the original builds. This is the first one that I ever made, which looks crazy and janky like that. I just made like a whole circuit for it right here. And honestly, it just looks gnarly and crazy. The truth is that it's like a very simple thing that you can buy. The only actual active thing here is the diode inside. This is just a microscope lens that I wanted to amplify the thing a little bit, and I kept this space here in case I'm going to put filters or metronome of other things. Battery pack, and then you have a circuit just to make it last longer. This is a similar build. Now, the ones that we make now, I have an incredible helper that does all of them, and he's, super, he loves to kind of like tinker with these things, and he made it like, you have like a small box that we make. It's this small, you can travel with it, you can just turn it off and on. It's like, it looks nothing like this, does the same thing. But again, I want to make it super clear. This just looks elaborate. It's not. It's just a tripod with some parts from Amazon, and now it's like super easy to make. So you should be good with you can do the whole setup in I think if you're smart and you get it from Alibaba, you can get the whole thing for probably $30 and just make it. And on the website, codeofreality.com, you also have my email. You can email me. I will walk you through it, no problem. It's very simple. Very interesting topic. So when making a choice, you're in a purgatory. Why? But that is possible. I'm glad I don't know. Yeah, that's a good point. Climb big rocks. You want to talk about the choice thing? Sure, we can talk about the choice thing. Have you get the Discord link posted on your profile? I've tried your Gmail and nothing sends. Wait, you tried my Gmail and nothing sends? lasersimulationx@gmail.com. lasersimulationx@gmail.com. There's no way it doesn't work. If you say arbitrary, we are civilization, essentially, whatever or not free will exist. If they have access to massive amounts of computing power, they can try infinite amount of combinations. Yep. Maybe that's why man is racing towards higher tech. I wonder if that's a part of the simulation. The only thing that is ever evolving since the beginning of time, as far as I can tell, is information. And that expresses itself in the laws of physics, and then, chemistry, complex chemistry, biology, and so on. And so what our brains are doing is just another layer in this. There's nothing, it's completely natural. Technology is just an expression of what the information is doing in the universe since the beginning. The fact that the irony is that all the people that talk about technology is some kind of an unnatural process, or we got to go back to our roots. All they're really saying is this stage of the universe, whatever we are, that's special. That's what they're really saying without even realizing it. The irony is that is the most conceited, that is the most self-centered position you can possibly take, but it's always couched in this kind of holistic, beautiful thing. But all you're saying is that I'm special. There's nothing special about our part of the evolution. So if things were evolving since the beginning of time and they always become more complex, this is just another step in the evolution. And the fact that people want to stop it and say, okay, whoa, no, we want to stay this. Yeah, this is actually you not letting go. This is actually you deciding that you're more special than anything else that ever existed and ever will exist. So you're trying to pull it back. You're trying to stop it. You can't stop it. It's part of the natural course of things. The laser, Jess, I discovered that if you project it on the surface and ingest a particular molecule, you will see code running in surfaces. You can watch my videos on the topic. They're right on the top on TikTok. Can you talk about how a laser has anything to do with the quantum theory? Well, yeah, because in order to understand how to produce a coherent light, what a laser is, you have orbitals, right? You have an element. And the way you produce a laser, well, there's a lot of ways to produce a laser, but one of the main ways is that you excite the electrons inside of an atom, and then you bring all these electrons to a particular level, and you do it with a very, very specific electrical pulse. And then when they drop back to the orbital right beneath, they release a photon, and because they all release it at once, the photon is always of the same frequency, of the same wavelength. So you have a coherent light. You have all the photons are of the same wavelength and frequency, which is very well, it's called coherent light. So it focuses the energy, right? And aside from that, you also focus the actual beam. Now, by the way, this is something that not a lot of people know, but, well, I don't know if not a lot of people know, I have no idea. But if you didn't know, A laser does not necessarily mean the point thing. That is actually achieved by using lenses. So the truth is that you can do a laser and it's not going to be, you make a laser and it's not necessarily going to be this point thingy. That's actually achieved by pointing it together, but it's the fact that it's the same frequency. So how it connects to quantum physics, we only know about orbitals and all of these things, and the actual more accurate model of what the atom really is through quantum physics. So we thought that atoms are kind of like little solar systems, which is just not true. It's not how they behave. It's not their nature at all. It's still being taught that way in schools for some reason, but that's at this point it's not. I would say even not necessarily a useful heuristics, because it's actually confusing people. They think that atoms are just like, they say, look, everything is a fractal. Planets are doing that. The atoms are doing that. No, the atoms are not doing that. That's not how the atoms look. It's a probabilistic distribution, which is somewhat of a point that requires some unpacking, but it is not behaving like, stars going around a sun. It's not like that. So, and we know that's not the case, and the math that required to work with that and prove that is the math of quantum physics and now quantum field theory. So that's how it's connected. We're in total agreement about the chronic narcissism. Yep. I don't look at this as a religion point. That's me, though. I consider myself a Christian, but I'm also an amateur botanist, so I live for science. Amazing. Is it recordable? Well, at the moment, only people can see it when they're in a particular state. So no, but eventually when you can have an advanced version of something like Neuralink, you'll be able to record directly from the cortex, and then you'll be able to prove it, like conclusively. What was the book you mentioned about neurobiology a few nights ago? I think you're talking about Reality Switch Technologies by Andrew Gallimore. I was trying to find it the other night. Do we have it here, baby? Huh? What? Are you home? Okay. Yeah, it's called Reality Switch Technologies by Andrew Gallimore, and he's actually finishing a new book right now, but I highly recommend it. He talks about neuroscience, and then he talks about why the molecule is so special. Is our narcissism biggest hindrance? I think self-absorption and fear, which I think self-absorption is a product of fear. Yeah. I didn't explain the connection? What do you mean? Wait, so maybe I'm misunderstanding your question. Are you asking what is the connection of knowing quantum physics and being able to build a laser? Because I think I answered that. You can't build a laser until you understand the specifics of exactly how to excite the atoms and why it works. You have Ohm's law. You have a lot of things that come from quantum physics that without them you can't build a laser, because you won't know what's going on specifically enough to be able to produce one. Is that now that connection is not clear? I think we are in a multiverse. Yeah, some people recorded and replicated what we saw. There you go. Yep. Reality Switch Technologies. The movie What the Bloop Do We Know is interesting. That is interesting. Would you have built lasers before understanding quantum physics? I don't think so, but let's double check just to be sure. 1 year, then we built the first laser versus 1 year discovered quantum physics and are they related? I'll do you one better. Wait. Yeah, no, definitely. The first laser was built in 1960, so definitely after we discovered quantum physics, by Theodora Maiman, while the foundation and concept of quantum physics are generally attributed to the 1900s. With Max Planck work on quantized energy, meaning the discovery of quantum physics came significantly earlier than the development of the laser. And yes, the operation of a laser directly based on the principles of quantum physics, particularly the concept of stimulated emission, which is what I explained, proposed by Albert Einstein in 1917, which is also the thing that he got his Nobel Prize for, which was the photoelectric effect. That he discovered that you can actually knock off electrons of particular metals by using light. So, hey John, I appreciate it. I have some background in physics. Nope, not a physicist, and don't even have a degree in physics. But I kind of started physics very early on when I was a young kid in the university, and then I kind of did some crazy stupid choices in life, but I always kept on teaching myself. So I know enough to read a paper, but if I have to talk about something like, a lot more specific, then I definitely need the help of actual physicists to help me make sense of it, if that helps answer the question. Yeah, physics is amazing, I think, but that doesn't really relate to what we now know about quantum physics. Wait, so KH, help me understand what you're asking, because I truly am not understanding. You're saying, but that doesn't really relate to what we now know about quantum physics? What doesn't? I really liked Einstein for Dummies, nice. I mean, okay. You're saying yes, we have when we haven't, so I'm not really sure what to tell you there. Have you noticed significant changes in your world since looking at the laser? Yeah, my life became pretty wild. I met some pretty interesting people since then, that's for sure. Do you think there's effects from being around level 4 laser running all day, about 8 hours? Oh yeah, I forgot. Well, I mean, no, lasers are not like radiation, they don't leak out. So, I mean, they are radiation, obviously, but I mean, like, they're not like a leaking, like, there's no leak, right? It's not like a radiation that can influence your, it's not of the size that can influence you. It's just visible light. It's just very coherent. Where do you go from installation? Okay, I should win Nobel Prize for that discovery. I think so. No, I actually don't think so, to be honest, because this is just kind of like putting some things together, right? Nobel Prize would be something like if I discover how to utilize this to build something, or to what is the fundamental, if I discover how we're seeing the code, what is happening, what is the relationship between mind and matter, okay, then I'm with you. But at the moment, this is just kind of like, and like I say in my first video, I don't even think that's the main discovery. I think the actual discovery is going to be made by all of us collectively. My previous username was okay. You asked me to change it so you could use my name, so I did. For those who don't know, you tell a little bit about yourself. Now, if you discover that, if it could be the biggest discovery in history, I think it is. But again, I think the actual discovery is going to be understanding what is the nature of it truly. Can you tell a little bit more about yourself? Okay. Are you asking me to tell other people about me, or are you asking for you? Because I wasn't sure if you don't know me. Because I feel like you're saying you were here before with a different handle, right? Big surprise, there's something being sold. No, I'm telling you right away that I prefer that you buy it yourself. People ask us to make it, so we make it. It's actually not... this is definitely not a good business model, because it's just a lot of work for not a lot of what is it called, revenue. But we make it if people insist. But this is why on the page you have the two options, and what the first one is how you just get everything yourself. It's very simple. So, light amplification by stimulated emission or radiation. Yes. And mindful they should come up with an easier way to convey that. Hey, cool guy 42. Thank you, Terry. Appreciate the gifts. Holography uses lasers and interference patterns, etc. Somehow, I think it's a sneak peek into how simulation works. It's possible. Lasers are more of a passion project, and boy, are they nicely built. Cool guy 42 is building them, so, and he's amazing at it. So where do we go? Wait. So where do we go in between choices? Okay, so let me just address that, and then I'll have to bounce out because it's very late here. Yeah, guys, so apologies. You're going to have to come back tomorrow for more things. Do you only see it in the laser? Is there an experience of seeing it everywhere? You can see other code everywhere, but not that code that you see in the laser. It's in every point in space with the laser and the molecule, yes. So, Terry, about the choice thing. So I broke it down before, and I'm going to make like a super short version of this because I really have to adjourn for today. But if you look closely at what it feels like to make a decision, whatever it is, if you're doing some kind of an activity and then you have to decide between two things, let's say you want to either clean your house or you want to, I don't know, go visit friends. And then you deliberate, right? You go between a few options and you think about all the reasons as to why you want to do this or that and what you have to do and all that stuff. As time closes in, as you have to make the decision, then you drop off a lot of the data points, so you don't have to actually consider so many things because you have no time. But when you get to that one instance where you're making the decision, in other words, that one instance from which now either this is going to happen or that's going to happen, if you look closely, it's equivalent to fall asleep and then waking up in a reality where one of them is going to happen. Now, it doesn't feel that way because, and this is why I'm equating it to falling asleep, nobody ever remembers falling asleep. You only remember waking up. But because it's like that, like you fell asleep and woke up, then you don't even notice you fell asleep. You're now just in a world where this is going to happen or this is going to happen. And now you have a story about why you think you made the action. But the actual instance of that going left or right, zig or zag, wasn't made by the thing you feel yourself to be. It's just either this happens or either this happens. You can say it's random, but I would say it's not random. It's guided by processes that are occurring in the world, one of them being your brain appropriating the thoughts, the story, and everything else that's going on as far as your experience that expresses itself as your experience. When I'm claiming that when you look deeper, we at the moment in our current understanding of science, we think, well, it's somewhere in the entity of what we call a human that something happens and then it decides to go left or right. I'm claiming it's not even happening in the human, and it's not even happening in existence itself. That thing is the mystery that is outside of the universe's ability to inspect. Even God does not know why that happens, and this offends people, but that's the claim, that ultimately you have the situation where the one thing that is constantly deciding between all of these things is the one thing that even the universe can't know how it happens. It's outside of reality itself, so to speak. That's why I'm equating it to the hole in the donut. It goes through all of it. And the ultimate version of this ultimate choice is the choice of the universe or existence to exist versus not to exist, which seems to be the thing that the simulators are also interested in. They're kind of like trying to see what is the common denominator between all the things happening and unfolding. But I know this is probably opening more questions than it answers, but unfortunately for today, yeah, it's a big, yeah, it touches everything, exactly. Yeah, guys, apologies, but I do have to go for today. Much love. See you tomorrow. Peace and love, everybody. Good night, brother. Good to see you.